3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, and today we are going to be going on about a film that Tammy has suggested for us. And honestly, this is like my second favorite film in my top 10. It is a film directed by William Castle. And if you don't know anything about William Castle, you're strange. Because he is
I didn't know anything.
He is a director that knew how to do the theatrical gimmicks. He is the one who started it all with how to make your audience feel exactly how they wanted to feel in the theater. Like if you wanted to go
like
to the theater and see one of his movies, he had that theater seat that would buzz your chair or something like that.
Like Alfred Hitchcock.
No,
well, like in the Tingler, he set the theater up big time for the Tingler.
This guy did it before Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock did it better.
No. This guy did it better.
Everybody knows who Alfred Hitchcock is. How many know who this guy is?
At the beginning of your theater experience with this movie, which was filmed in 1961, it is called Mr. Sardonicus. As you would go through the door, you would get a punishment pole, which was probably a cardboard paper that had a thumbs up or a thumbs down sign on it, and you would be able to use that towards the end when you needed to.
To vote. No mercy.
And one of the things that William Castle was really good at was introducing his films and also having a good ending to his films as well. He liked being involved in them. And so let's see what IMDb says about this movie, and then we'll go into first impressions. So, a mysterious and cruel baron whose face has become frozen in a horrifying grin demands that a prominent London physician apply experimental treatments on him to restore his face. So, Tammy, since this is your choice, was this a first time watch for you?
No, it wasn't. I've watched it several times with you since I met you. Otherwise, I had not known about it. And I've always, every time I watch it, I enjoy it because it's William Castle. You know, the way he does it and everything, and don't want to spoil the ending because the ending is kind of freaks you out a little bit. But we'll get to that.
What's freaky about the ending?
One thing
because of what the doctor really did and what he didn't do. That's what I mean. Funny. So
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too, but you don't know that what he did or didn't do until the ending. Anyways,
I really like what Carl did.
I still like, I like watching it every single time I've seen it. So I think it's interesting and kind of freaky and fun.
Okay. Heading over to you, Boris. Was this a first time watch for you?
Yes, it was. And I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually, since this movie is as old as it is. I was rather positively surprised how suspenseful it was, in spite of the fact that movies that are so old that were maybe scary at the time when they were made usually won't be perceived as so scary nowadays. But
Oh yeah, it
this
wasn't
one
scary
was.
at all.
Well, I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said it wasn't scary at all.
Well, okay, I wasn't scary, but it was still thrilling enough. And one thing it left me wondering was what would have happened if the audience had voted otherwise in theaters. Was there really an alternate ending they would have shown in that case?
It was fixed.
Uh, oh, so no matter what the audience voted, the ending would always be the same.
Yep.
Do you really think that there would be anyone that would be thinking positive by the end of the movie and want him to not be punished?
Yeah, well, there might be
Probably,
some of those snowflakes in the audience.
probably not, but you never know.
I mean, he was really sadistic.
Yes, and
But is that the pretty much your first impression there then?
well, actually, I wanted to ask you something about what when you said it was one of your top 10 movies. Does that mean it's one of your 10 favorites of all time, of all movies
Correct.
ever? Or wow,
It is my one of my top favorite movies of all time.
wow.
Yes, we all know Dave's a weirdo.
I'm not a weirdo.
Or,
Killer Clowns from Outer Space is my top 10. That is my top. Mr. Sardonicus.
I thought Funny to Kill a Film was your top.
House on a Hill. Also directed by William Castle. Kind of make for like a tie because I love both of those. And sorry.
Come on, Krol.
Just because you're a snooze fest doesn't mean that these movies aren't good.
Star Wars. I got nothing else to say.
Krol, was this a first time watch for you?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, and what did you think about it?
I'm still waiting to see the fucking ghouls. He talked about ghouls. He said it was ghouls. No, dude was a grave robber. He robbed the grave. He wasn't a ghoul.
He turned
Don't
into
wait to
one.
see the ghouls. No, he was just a grave robber. See, that's the definition of a grave robber. He even read the definition of a ghoul.
He grave
Dude was not a
robbed
ghoul.
and became a ghoul.
He
Because
didn't
that
become
is-
a ghoul. He was a grave robber.
This is the original.
He was a grave
Yeah,
robber.
he was
Castle
still
lied to
human
me.
as far as I know.
Castle lied to me. He said the definition of a ghoul. And I said, cool. And I watched the movie and there's no fucking ghoul in there.
See, I disagree with you because the man became.
Yeah,
a
I know you
ghoul
disagree with me because you don't have common sense.
Common sense has nothing to do with this film. You gotta
Got that right.
believe.
Okay, so
Well-
the movie was mildly entertaining. There was definitely some torture scenes that were funny, that were enjoyable. Cool that I guess there was a happy ending. You know, everybody got what they deserved, basically. The way I feel.
For the most part.
No, everybody got
Okay.
what they deserved.
But in any case, so we have the story begin with William Castle introducing it, and I think he does a phenomenal job stating what you know what a ghoul is, and
He does, but then he doesn't show one.
yes, he does. But anyway,
Yeah. You find me one ghoul in that movie.
Mr. Sardonicus.
He's not a ghoul.
Exhibit A.
He's a grave robber.
Yes, he is.
He's a grave robber.
He's not just a grave robber. He's
He's
cursed.
only a grave robber. How does he? What did he eat? He didn't eat the 18 turtles of his dad.
He just slurped up shit that was in a bowl that looked like gruel.
Because he couldn't eat it any other way. Because he scared himself to fucking freaky
Because
smile.
he was turned into a walking, living ghoul.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
Well, by the end, it was him. Well,
So,
okay, maybe
but
I
by
should.
that, the Joker is a ghoul. Because he walks around with a smile, too.
Yeah, and he was a ghoul.
Oh my God. Yes.
Well, he chose the name Sardonicus because sardonic means scornfully or cynically mocking.
Yes, that was correct.
But
That was the correct definition.
we get his backstory somewhat mid film, but the story begins around a doctor who can use different forms of therapy to invent his own cures for certain things. And
Like the new invention, the hypodermic needle.
well, at that time it was. So at least at the time that this came out, or at least the time that he set this movie in, the hypodermic is a new thing. It is a new invention. And I think they articulate that because they explain it, that it's a new invention. But meanwhile, this doctor who goes by the name of Robert Hargrave is giving this very young girl a treatment with her legs because evidently she hasn't been able to walk her entire life or move her legs in any way, shape, or form. And I thought that this was a cool moment because it seemed like this girl couldn't move her legs, and she really seemed like
I forgot about the little girl. She didn't get a happy ending. Damn doctor left her.
Regardless, she was able to move her legs on her own for the very first time, and with treatment.
Yeah, she was supposed to come back.
Her mom and the little girl were excited about it, and did that whole "it's a miracle," moment. And he gets an unexpected visitor, who hands over a letter that comes from
to the nurse.
His ex-girlfriend.
Because he was busy.
Yes, he was busy examining the new hypodermic needle.
He didn't want to give it to the nurse, but she was like, "I promise, I will hand it right to him, put it right in his hand."
Well, and he does. And at first he was going to dismiss it, but then he realized whose handwriting it was. And that's when he opened the letter, and it just so happens to be his ex-flame. Evidently, his ex-flame married this baron, and she sent him a letter saying that it's in her best interest that he come, basically. So he does. And
best interest to save my life. Save my life. Save my life. Save my life. Save my life.
Tammy,
save my life. Save my life.
This is where you think that it kind of reminds you of Dracula, eh?
In what way?
Yes, when he gets to the train station and then gets on to, when he gets picked up, just the journey and the way everything goes. It reminds you of the scene of like when he's going to Dracula, you know.
Well, and the fact that when he gets there, the train station guy he's talking to him, and he mentions that he's going to see Mr. Sardonicus, and as soon as he mentions his name, he's like all scared, you know.
You don't have any daughters.
So he gets picked up by who we learn later his name is Krol. He is a servant. It is spelled Krull. Krol. And he picks him up and takes him there. And as soon as he gets to the place and he gets inside, he hears the screams of a woman. And he goes and investigates, and it so happens to be a young blonde-haired maid who has leeches on her face. What do y'all think about this scene right here?
I found it somewhat gruesome, I must say, but okay, that's just me.
I thought she was sick and they were trying to fix her. Because leeches have a lot of power to save people. Seen it done in a lot of movies.
At that point in time, yeah, it was possible that maybe he was doing it that way, but
I know
the
we
way
had to
that
find out it was just torture, but you know,
the way that she was acting like it was against her will.
well,
Regardless.
you know, I don't care how sick I am. I'd be screaming if I had leeches on my face too.
Well, in any case, shortly after that, the doctor tells him to release her and give her something to eat, and Krol then tells him that that Mrs. Sardonicus is in the observatory, I think, or the forget what he called it, but. He goes and meets her.
Well, quickly going back, you don't think that the leeches were that she wanted it? She was tied up. Of course, it was against her will. Duh.
Yeah.
But again, she still could have been sick.
It's possible, at least at that.
I don't understand why the doctor immediately jumped to the conclusion that the leeches weren't helping her.
Well,
he didn't
because
ask
she
any
was
questions until after.
Probably because she was tied up. She wasn't volunteering for it.
Still. You better tie my ass up if you're going to put leashes on my face, sick or not. That's all I'm saying.
Regardless, we find out that her name is Moira or Mara. I think it's Moira.
I think it's Maud, if I remember correctly.
It's Maud. You talk about the Baroness?
The Baroness name. Her
Maud.
name is Maud.
Yes, Maud.
Which honestly, that is like a bad name. I
hate that name.
It's not a very attractive name.
Well, it's spelled Maude, not MUD.
And
either way, it's the same.
The way
I'm
that
sorry, what did you say, Krol?
I said either way, it's the same.
The way that she greets him is almost like it was oblivious to her letter that she sent. You know, because the way it read to him it was of some urgency that she needed his help, and the way she was speaking to him, at least at first, was, like they were old friends.
That's for a company.
Well, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, she act like
And ultimately, they he tells her that there's never been anyone else, and there's a kind of a pregnant pause, and then she's like, "Well, dinner will be in a little bit." So I guess he goes off, gets invited to his room that he is evidently going to be staying in, and he continues to have a bath where he sings this bachelor song.
Really regret is it?
Which I thought was unique because he's English and he's singing something like that you think that a Scottish dude would sing,
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
But in any case, he gets a knock on the door, and it is the maid that he had helped before. And guess what? She has no marks on her face. But when you first see her, all these leeches on her face, you'd think that like she would have these marks still on her face from that leeching.
I think makeup fucked up. Production issue.
But she basically asks him if he will protect her so that it doesn't happen again.
Not just her. All those servants.
Well,
you're going to stop.
And
since you're here, will the experiment stop?
Yep. And that's pretty much what she basically she thinks he's like a savior at the moment. So
yep.
Ultimately, after
this will lead to the best scene in the movie.
After that, he ends up showing up to dinner, and it looks like it's an elaborate dinner. But before he shows up to the dinner, that's when he sees Krol come to the master's door and give him his slush or mush or whatever the heck that he's giving him. And he goes to the door and listens, and you get the scene where you hear the slurping sounds, and
disgusting.
Then he goes down to dinner, and Mr. Sardonicus.
Oh yeah, after that.
He makes an entrance though, with that mask that he has on his face, doesn't he?
Yes.
Oh, what do y'all think about this this scene here? What about you, Tammy? What do you think about the whole dinner scene?
Yeah, that was kind of disgusting. The slurping, it's just but when they go to dinner, and he first sees. Are you talking about when he goes? They all go to dinner, or just his dinner?
They all go to dinner, but he says that he's already eaten.
Right, and that's when he sees him in the mask for the first time, and he's just kind of watching him, I think, instead of having dinner, because he doesn't know that it was him that was slurping, I don't think, but yeah, at this point. But I think he feels uncomfortable at dinner time because he says he's already dude's already eaten, and he's sitting there with that mask on,
Oh yeah. And it's when he begins to speak to him about ghouls is when Krol comes into the room and tells him his special guests have arrived, and he makes his excuses.
Well, I
And
just want to
goes,
say that I agree with Tammy with the subbing sound. I agree. That's exactly what I said. And she didn't ask.
yeah, and we get that the doctor makes his excuses, and it goes to where Mr. Sardonicus is and where Krol is, and he's with these four young ladies who evidently are there because they've been told that they will get some gold for their services or whatever, and he tells them also that whoever is the special girl will get more gold. And so Mr. Sardonicus comes in, and he says to the room basically that there's a girl for every vice. uh, and he gives them each their vices, and he chooses this buxom blonde that's at the end of
Yeah, well, he uses wine and he talks about how the wine's different flavors like the women.
yeah, which gives you the sense that he's educated about these different like drinks that he has, and
He's
when he
educated.
chooses her and sends the other girls out, he begins to talk with her, and she seems to think that he will look better without the mask on. Well, do you think that was a good thing? What? You were going to say something,
Who?
Mr. Sardonicus?
No. I just said wrong.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What did he do?
She took off the mask and then he scared the fuck out of her.
Well, I figured I'd have you guys explain that.
I
That's
just explained
why.
it. She took off the mask and scared the fuck out of her.
Well,
She
it did,
And she screamed bloody
but
murder.
we did. But we also didn't see what happened to her. All we know is that the girls heard the scream, and we assumed that something happened to her. So.
Oh yeah, one
I
thing
didn't
I found confusing about that whole part was what exactly did he invite them for in the first place? What was his intention by
I have no
inviting
idea.
them?
My assumption is that he has some sexual appetites that he has to take care of, that his wife is not able to take care of. So
Is unwilling to take care of.
my assumption is that he's a little sadistic in his playfulness when it comes to his women.
He's a horny pervert.
Ooh,
Yeah, he's a horny baron, basically. He has more
possibly.
appetites than just the one woman, and the one woman does not satisfy him. Besides,
Well, I
it
don't
was
think
never
that I don't think he gets sex from his wife. You know, he
No,
doesn't
he
treat
said
her very
he
well.
doesn't. He said he doesn't. I
You know,
mean,
we later find out that it's basically a marriage in name only. You know.
yeah, they never even had sex once.
Yep. So ultimately, we do find out from Maud that she really did think that his coming was more for her benefit, And ultimately, the Baron then takes Maud down to his torture dungeon. And he also takes the doctor down to the torture dungeon to force him to come up with a solution to help him figure out how to
How did you skip over the best scene in the movie?
explain.
The maid being tortured. Our thumbs tied up in the ropes and making her stand up on her tippy toes, and then
The torture
and then
continues.
Carl threatening to put leeches all over her body, starting with her feet.
You are calling that the best scene?
It was.
Uh,
It was great.
okay, to each their own.
But
It was great. It was a good torture scene.
Yeah, that does happen because Krol is also just as sadistic as his master. Evidently, he's allowed to do what he pleases with some of the servants in the house and stuff like that. And I do believe that he does. The doctor Robert, he does try to help him a little bit at first, but then when
he spent all day and all night massaging his face.
Basically, which is what he did, like as a doctor, anyways. Which is kind of like skin therapy or massage therapy or whatever, which evidently was like a new thing for doctors to do at that time because it worked. You know?
The Baron already said it had been done before, but it hadn't worked.
Well, he still tried, but when he said that it didn't see when it didn't work, basically he tied him up in his dungeon and he made Krol try to burn Maud's face in order for to torture him into continuing his experimentation on him. So because he has feelings for Maud, is why he agreed to help him, and he basically spent several days, it looks like, to figure out how to help him.
And pretending to kill dogs.
Correct.
Damn
it. That was all helpful in what led up to how he helped him in the long run. Boris, you were saying something?
I was going to say I'm glad he was only pretending. It would have kind of freaked me out if he had really killed dogs for this asshole.
I was saying, yeah, kill those dogs.
Ouch! Why?
Because I hate dogs.
But in any case, so basically he makes this concoction that basically he puts in that hypodermic needle, and then I guess there's this locked room that we learn about early on because it's a room that the doctor notices like right away.
Chamber of Horrors. That's what
and
calls it.
The good Baron takes them to that room and shows them what's in the room. And I guess
first he has her go in and then shuts the door, and then she's fires. So yeah.
Yep, she's terrified. And then
Well,
I know someone's in
don't
there.
forget that he's telling him he's making this concoction that it's all from poisonous things, and he's testing it on these dogs, and he's making a whole big scene about doing all this. You know,
Yes.
so
which
and
it goes to the various levels of the Baron and his subconscious, how he hears it, the more that he hears that the doctor says things about, he starts to exhibit some signs of fear, and so ultimately that leads up to a moment where he locks them in that room, and the lights go out. And one of the things that the Baron showed that was in that room was the dead carcass of his father, to remind him of his grave robbing experience. Which what we should do is also talk about that whole backstory, which apparently he was a farmer who lived with his father, and
his
he
bitch
had a lover who
wife.
was very greedy. Well, that was his first wife, yes.
Yeah, the blonde chick.
And she was very greedy. Apparently, there was a lottery that was won by his father, but he had accidentally buried the lottery ticket in his father's grave. But a little bit earlier than that, we get this talk of these two older guys. I think it's his father and another, and
yeah, it is his father.
It's his father.
It was at his mother's grave. It was at his mother's grave.
Right, it's his father and the caretaker, basically, of the cemetery.
Correct. And he, at first, when he saw them visiting the grave, he thought that they were a pair of ghouls.
Grave robbers.
But they were not, and they were just visiting the wife and mother's grave. But it is his wife who insisted on him going into that grave and getting that, and whatever it is that he saw scared the living crap out of him.
What would you do?
Huh?
What would you do?
You have to also remember at this scene that the caretaker describes what a ghoul is too, and also William Castle describes what a ghoul is at the very beginning of the movie.
If
it's an evil spirit or phantom, especially one supposed to rob graves and feed on dead bodies.
Yep.
Nobody's
and it
feeding
doesn't
on
matter
any
if
dead
you
bodies.
it doesn't matter if you rob graves or feed on dead bodies. He robbed a grave, so he became a ghoul.
A grave robber.
Yeah, which, if you listen to the description of a ghoul, is a grave robber.
And he eats the corpses. He ain't no corpses.
It said or feed on dead corpses. Yes, it did. It said or.
No.
Yes.
That's like saying
then the definition doesn't say or.
No, it doesn't.
It says an evil spirit or phantom. An evil spirit or phantom, especially one supposed to rob graves and feed on dead bodies, is what it says.
Exactly.
And who's to say that he didn't feed on his dead body?
Because we saw the body. There was no feeding on it.
Well, I didn't see any skin or anything. I mean, it did look
already gone.
He freaked out when he saw the face like that with all the because he had already started to rot and the
So
skin pulled back, and he could see the teeth like that and the smile like that. That is what freaked him out and sent him. That was his, you know,
Punishment.
Trigger.
shock, his shock moment.
His trigger.
yeah, yeah. Well, one thing this part made me wonder was, okay, he undug the grave in order to get that lottery ticket out. Why did he have to be punished for doing that? Like, what's so horribly wrong about doing
I
that?
agree.
Well, that kind of goes back to people who
Some religious
uh,
something.
people who came up with certain superstitions about grave robbing. I mean, honestly, a lot of it goes back to superstition, which is the belief of.
It's religious nut things.
Well, regardless, people believed anything back in those days, and honestly, a
still
lot
do.
of it
Well,
was
if you
hokey.
disturbed, you know, religiously wise, if you disturbed a grave, you know, that was like really, that was
Taboo.
bad. Yes.
If you disturb a grave, you could get cursed or something like that. Something bad will happen to you.
If I
That's
don't
what
get my goddamn lottery ticket, I'm cursed.
Well, basically,
that.
he was cursed with something, and honestly, I think it has to do with the whole ghoulism. He robbed a grave, and that's part of it. So, in a sense, you could almost say that Mr. Sardonicus became a ghoul because
No, you
he
couldn't.
did rob a grave, and
It's untrue. You can say it, but it ain't true.
okay, whatever you want to believe.
It ain't true by the
Obviously,
definition that Castle read himself.
well, I'm sorry.
But he
I
basically
tend to
got
believe-
cursed for disturbing the grave. In the
He
end,
got
he
cursed.
basically got cursed.
He got faked.
He basically got scared at whatever he saw, and
Scared.
his face became exactly what he saw. But whether or not you want to believe that he became a ghoul, I guess that's on you.
Because he
I
did.
tend to believe that he is a ghoul, and whether you want to admit it or not, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, he
But
was eating corpses. That's what was in the slop. It was corpses.
it didn't say he had to eat corpses.
Yeah, but Bambi just read it to you.
It said and. It doesn't mean that
Exactly,
that
and as in
Yeah.
both. You have to have both, not one. Both.
it didn't say that.
Oh my god.
It didn't say say both.
Oh my god.
It added it. See, maybe you think something different than it actually says. It says grave robbing.
I don't think different than it says. I think exactly what it says.
Okay.
You're picking out little parts of what it says to confirm your theory that is completely wrong, and you just won't admit
It's
that
not.
it's wrong because you love Frank Castle, but he was wrong.
If you want to believe that, fine. I'm not gonna.
Because it's the truth.
It's not. But anyway,
It is.
moving on.
Frank Castle proved it himself.
Yeah.
Okay,
said
maybe
grave
he
robbing.
didn't totally, maybe he didn't turn into a ghoul totally. Okay, he turned
No, he
into a
didn't.
ghoul, but
He was a
he
grave
did
robber.
not did not do everything that a ghoul, the definition of a ghoul is.
Well,
He did the
it
grave
did-
robbing part, but he did not
That's
do
it,
the other part.
which makes him a grave robber.
Well, in the end, it was implied that it was all psychosomatic, that there was
yeah.
nothing really supernatural about what happened to him.
Exactly.
True, but the superstition is implied, and that's what I tend to believe. I'm sorry, I don't just believe he was a grave robber. He he was a grave robber, but
And that's
because
it. But nothing.
he went and
He
robbed
was a
the
grave
grave,
robber. Plain and
something
simple.
bad happened to him. But
Because it
anyway,
was all in his head.
well, yeah, most of it. But
All of it.
in any case, going on to what happened to Mr. Sardonicus. After he was shocked because all of a sudden the lights went out in the room and he screamed, actually, not in the dark, you know. And after that, evidently his face relaxed and he came out of the room, and from
Because
what
he had to face his fear.
Yeah, you
Correct,
forgot
he
that he
did.
was shot. He was given a needle.
Yep.
With this,
and ultimately, it's shortly after that he writes a note and snapping them to come near.
yeah, he annuls the marriage, which you can only
You
annul
know,
the marriage if you never
the
slept
marriage,
together.
and he asks what debt he can give to the doctor because he owes him a lot.
He says he owes him
And he said, "You don't owe me anything." And then he wrote on the wall, "Be gone."
Be gone.
Well, anyways, they are at the train station, and Krol, right before they are supposed to like leave, asks them to come back because the master cannot speak.
Open
Because
his
he can't
mouth.
move his mouth. He can't eat anything either. What does he do? You know. What do y'all think about that moment?
Well, he tells them that he can. He just has to realize that he can, just like, you know, how his face got relaxed. He has to, you know.
That's where he
knows-
tells him that there was nothing in the needle. There was only water. Everything else was for show, and everything was in his head.
Right.
Cole finally understood after a few times and went back to tell his master.
Well, all he did was go back and start to eat whatever was at the table.
No, he told him first that he missed the doctor. The doctor had already caught the train. No, he touched his eye and looked at Sardonicus and then told him that. Like, you know what? Fuck you, bastard. You took my eye. This is what you get.
Well,
and then he proceeded to eat in front of him and drink and be merry. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Actually,
And that was after we had actually heard from William Castle again. For everyone to take their
mercy
punishment.
or no mercy.
Mercy or more
But
more
you do
mercy.
have to you have to kind of feel sorry for him, because when Krol is sitting there just shoving his face full of food and everything, and he's watching him and he's picking up the stuff, and he can't get his mouth open, he can't drink anything,
I don't feel sorry for him.
You can see he's just in total distress. He's crying. He's, you know, you kind of have to feel sorry for him a little bit.
Nope. Got what deserved.
Well, he did torture a lot of people who didn't deserve that.
Yep.
Yeah, he did, and a lot of it was
And he
unprovoked.
threatened people, and he was a bully. He was a nice guy to start with. What happened to him was a tragedy, but what he became was his own fault.
But one
And what he
thing,
continued to do, he became a bad person along with this uh,
Became an evil son of a bitch.
cynical smile that he had perpetually on his face. So he almost became exactly what he most feared most, which is this hateful person, you know?
uh, uh, well, actually, there is one thing this movie left me wondering. Like, what kind of power did Mr. Sardonicus have over both his wife and all his servants? I mean, he was treating them all like shit, and
I know.
why were they all just putting up with it? Why didn't
I-
someone kill him in his sleep or
Exactly.
whatever?
Well,
That's what I
the
was
money,
thinking.
the money and wealth that he had came from that
So
lottery.
the money would have gone to the wife.
Mm, yeah, like when he dug Krol's eye out, why didn't Krol kill him in his sleep after that or something
And
like that?
honestly, I don't think that the marriage was really annulled just by that writing. You know,
Yeah, it was. He was
you
a baron.
kind of have
Barons
to
could do
go.
that.
You kind of have to go to a court system and actually get that done.
Not in his country.
Not at that time,
in
because
his country. Not in his country. That was
because of
his
his
country.
factor.
He was a baron of that country, and he annulled it because they
Okay.
never slept together. They never even, you know, the marriage wasn't legal.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, on that note, um, did anyone else have anything else to say about the film before we go into production here?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay. So what did we think about the production of the film? Tammy, what did you think about the production of this film?
I thought it was pretty decent. I mean, there wasn't really much to do for effects except for his face, and they definitely made his face look very gruesome. That's for sure.
Mm.
But I think other than that, the production was good. I mean, when the maid had the leeches on her, she definitely was not happy, and you could tell it wasn't. You know, um, I do think when he saw her after the leeches were off. I mean, Kroll said that he had put the hot towels on her and everything, but I don't think that would have healed her face that quickly. So I think there they kind of messed up a little bit. There should have still been marks from the leeches in that area. Other than that, I think they did good on the production.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Sardonicus?
Well, I agree with Tammy on that, but the face I think looks more funny than scary.
Okay. Um, did you have anything else to say about the production?
No, your typical old movie.
Okay. What about you, Boris? What did you think about the production of the film?
Well, I actually like the production quite a bit. Both times when the father skeleton appeared on the screen, it was kind of a jump scare, and it got me pretty well both times. Actually, it startled me.
Really?
uh,
That's funny.
uh, yeah, well, okay, not like it gave me a panic attack, but I was like, ugh. Didn't expect that. It was I wouldn't have expected a jump scare in a movie from that time. So that was one thing I found interesting. Although I generally hate jump scares, but here I found
Boo!
interesting how they did it. Also, one thing we didn't mention was the interior of Mr. Sardonicus's house. All those statues and candelabras and everything he had there. That was really cool. Um and
Yeah, it was
his
very elaborate, almost overly elaborate.
yeah.
No mirrors like a vampire.
Indeed. And his face, well, I'd say it is pretty well done. Okay, maybe it wasn't scary to see on screen, but if you saw something like that in real life, you would probably think, what the hell is this?
You probably would have laughed too.
I look at David's face every day.
I know. What David?
Oh, what, why David's face?
Scary.
She's just joking. But no, my face is
she?
not always in a perpetual grin.
Is she though?
Yes. Otherwise, I probably would not be living with her if I really was that ugly. But in any case, but I thought the production was very good. I thought that these actors were pretty decent. Although Maud, I don't know, hers was a little wooden at first, but I guess I
You want
kind
to
of
give her your
opened
wood?
up to her a little bit more as the film went on. Like her character, I think, should have been, I guess, a little bit more. Just the relationship between her and him should have been more um, videotaped on or recorded on. You know, like to show a little bit more of how they are together. You know,
You
instead
wanted
of
him
just
to
showing
fuck
this
her.
one side. Huh?
You wanted him to fuck her. We didn't
But
mention that scene where he basically tells her to screw him if he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to help him. He says, do whatever you can to make him help. Use your charm. He tries to slap him.
That kind of took me aback. I didn't expect he would say something like that.
Well, he ain't fucking her. He figured somebody should.
I get a kick out of Kroll too, because he's when he states, when the master tells me to do the thing, I do the thing. You know, I always remember that from him, and he's like that nice butler.
Yeah, you should remember that. When the master tells you, you do it.
You know what's funny is he kind of reminds me of the butler in Mr. Deeds. It's like the second they called him, he was like there. It's like, where the hell did he come from?
Well, he's always there when the master needs him, you know.
Or anybody. Like they first called him,
right?
Like there.
But yeah, I do like the look of the inside of the castle. It looks like in the dining room there was a lot of like wood carved stuff that was in there that looked pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that. And yes, the mirror thing is similar to like a vampire like thing. So.
And a corpse hidden in the dark is similar to Psycho.
A little bit.
And this movie was actually made before Psycho, if I'm not wrong.
No, actually, this movie was made a year after.
I misremembered. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Psycho was filmed in 1960.
Yeah, for some reason I thought Psycho was from 1966. So I misremembered, like I said.
But in any case, all right. What did you all think about the music?
Well, for that time, it was probably okay. For nowadays, it feels more like a music for some Halloween cartoon or something like that. Like nowadays, it's not really unsettling music, but for that time, it probably was. So I guess for the time when it was made, it was probably fitting enough.
Well, the composer goes by the name of Von Dexter, and he did the music behind House on Haunted Hill, The Tingler, the
Ooh.
original 13 Ghosts in 1960, and this film. So,
which are all William Castle.
yep. And that's pretty much who he worked for. So, um, other than that, I think the music actually does go well with the film. I mean, um, I heard it. I mean, it was noticeable to me, at least
Mm.
while certain scenes were on. What about you, Kroll? Did you notice it at all?
Meh. I know it's dude singing in the bathtub.
um,
Well, I actually did notice the music. What I was just trying to say is that for the modern times, it doesn't really make the movie more unsettling, but back then it probably did.
and
Well, I mean,
I honestly like a lot.
they thought the world was still flat then too. So
I honestly, well, yeah, true. But I honestly like the way the credits are shown in the beginning of his films too.
Woo!
The way it looks so wavy and um,
They
the
all do that.
way the wording shows up. I do enjoy that whenever that type of wording is in a spooky film, you know.
Mhm.
Um,
Very
but
suspicious.
in any case, let's go to favorite scenes. So, Cole, if you had a favorite scene or scenes or favorite character, who would it be?
Okay, I'll tell you the scene again. When the maid was being tortured, with her thumbs up in the ropes, and she had a dangle by her tippy toes, and he was threatening to put leeches all over her body, starting with her feet.
Mm.
Okay, and favorite character? Do you have a favorite character?
No.
Okay. Um, what about you, Tammy? Favorite scene or scenes or favorite character?
I guess my favorite scene is when they're walking through the garden together, and he starts explaining the whole thing, and then he shows him his face. That whole thing when he's telling them the story, and they're sitting there, and then then you get the background as to why he's like that, and he shows it to him. I guess that's my favorite because it brings it all together. Just that scene, you know. I think my favorite character is actually the doctor because he he's what holds the whole thing together. It's all centered. It's not totally centered around Mr. Sardonicus. It's kind of centered more around the doctor because he needs that doctor. You know,
Well,
like
yeah,
everybody needs the doctor. She needs him. Sardonicus needs him. Krol needs him. Everybody needs the doctor for something.
okay. Um, going over to you, Boris. Favorite scene or scenes, or favorite character?
Well, my favorite scene would probably also be the backstory, because yeah, that's when things start making more sense. and it's the part that actually makes Mr. Sardonicus more interesting and more fleshed out character altogether. But my favorite character would probably also be the Doctor, because he was the only one thinking with his head, who was brave enough to stand up against Mr. Sardonicus when it was necessary. And like I said, throughout the whole movie, I was wondering. It never made sense to me why they all were putting up with his shit, why no one tried to get rid of him, of Mr. Sardonicus, I mean.
Because he's the lord of the land and he is the law.
I think they did stand up to him because he would always, like, he used mud to threaten the Doctor. He disciplined the maid with the leeches if she didn't do what he said. He always, somebody always, he did something always. So he put fear in people.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's why they should have fought him all together and killed him.
well, people were a hell of a lot more scared back then and fearful. I mean, if you had a lord of the land who had servants or served men that could do sadistic things to you and get away with it, things of that nature,
Yeah, I was also left.
Back then, if you had a title, that made you fearsome.
Huh. So there wasn't any police or anyone like that who would intervene if someone was torturing people and stuff.
Well, he was pretty much the law, at least in that particular part of the country. So I imagine that there was probably a constable nearby, but he was probably some bumbling idiot who worked for the Baron, So
Yeah.
when your boss is the lord of the land, you hop to it for him. You don't hop to it for anyone else,
Yeah. Well, I still wonder what would have happened if, for example, when he dug Krol's eye out, what would have happened if Krol had killed him in his sleep after that?
Honestly, I think he would have tortured him because now Krol has the power over him.
Oh yeah, that ending was pretty good.
But in any case, I'm gonna say that my favorite character would have to be Krol for some reason.
Thank
just
you.
the fact that he was exactly where he needed to be at all times. He had no problem doing just as much sadistic shit as his boss, and when it came down to it, he came out on top. I mean, he could sit down at the Lord's table and eat what the fuck what he wanted,
Well, actually, yeah, Krol is an interesting character. Like, at first you see him do all that messed up shit with the leeches and everything, but then later he seems to develop some sort of conscience, I guess, because when he is required to disfigure Maud, you can see he doesn't really want to do it. So I
well,
guess
yeah,
maybe.
he turns to him and says, "Really? But her face is so beautiful, Master."
Yeah, it's like the whole experience maybe made him realize he doesn't want to keep doing such shit anymore.
True. And favorite scenes. I'm gonna have to say that Kroll's favorite scene is one of my favorite scenes a little bit, but I also do like the backstory as well, and I do like William Castle's like intros to everything and the punishment pole and the fact that this, if you were in the theater, would have been an interesting experience because he got the audience more involved in his productions, and he knew how to do that. And that's why I have respect for his films.
Yeah,
Is it any wonder that I like two of his productions more than any other film out there? It's because he
yeah,
knew his audience.
yeah. Although maybe the fact that he makes the audience think they can vote, but then no matter what they vote, there will be what he predetermined to happen. Maybe that was a
What was
way to say how to show how politics work nowadays.
what was your other favorite, David?
My other favorites were the introductions. That
No, I
William
mean
Castle.
of White Castle. Besides this film, what was your other favorite?
My other favorite was the backstory and how he came to be.
No, the
Um,
other favorite film of White Castle.
oh, the House on Haunted Hill.
Okay.
I like White Castle burgers.
Oh yeah, by the way, if Dave, you say this is one of your top 10 favorite movies of all time, then how come you haven't made us watch it sooner?
I believe oh, you mean the House on Haunted Hill?
No, I mean Mr. Sardonicus.
No, we had a lot of films to get through, and I know that we just kind of went with whatever floated our boat, at any given point in time. But I'm finally glad that Tammy suggested this film, and I'm glad that it was her because it showed that I'm not the only one who likes this film.
Yeah, you're not the only one that can torture us.
Hey, black and white films are the best films that are out there.
Oh, yeah, not.
Well,
I don't think they're the best films that are out there, but I think they have their time and place. Like I was saying earlier, the movie that I'm going to do for the other group, or might be doing for the other group, is Rock of Ages. Now, that would not have been a good movie in black and white.
No,
Okay.
Neither would Star Wars.
No, neither would Star Wars. But this movie was right. Black and white was right for it. I mean, not all movies out there would be good in black and white, and not all black and white ones would be good if you colorized them either. They have. I think basically, for the most part, the production people that are in production have done the right thing and done it right with which ones are in black and white and which ones aren't, or if they have it mixed sometimes, like in Wizard of Oz, they mix it.
oh
I think that they've got it right as to which movies are which way.
I believe
So
that there are moments in the Kill Bill volumes 1 and 2 that they do some black and white scenery, which is pretty cool. With Tarantino's films, and they use those moments pretty good.
Ooh.
But I agree. There are some movies out there that I don't think that black and white would be the thing. Like there was a movie not too long ago that Krol chose that I just refused to watch in color. So
Wonderful Life.
Which one?
Yeah,
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. I just refuse to see it in color. Just refuse. Because
Oh,
it is better in black and white.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Sucks in black and white.
Fuck you. In any case, that being said, is there anything else that you want to say about this film?
Probably not. Not sure. Can't remember anything more I wanted to say.
Okay.
All I wanted to
Well,
say is, I did not know, I didn't get turned on to the William Castle stuff except for House on Haunted Hill, of course. I watched that before David, and it's been a neat experience to get into William Castle's other movies, which is this is one of them. If it wasn't for David and showing me this, and I probably might not have even seen it, but he is showing me a lot of. I like a lot of older movies, and I this has been one that I really liked, and I like The Tingler now that I've watched it. So it's one that I'll remember, and that's why I wanted us to watch it. So
and
Oh,
thank you for coming along with us on our film discussional journey on this film. It's been a pleasure to share it with you and the rest of of you who might enjoy this type of film. So let us know down in the comments whether you liked the film or not, whether you think we did a great job, and we'll see you next Sunday here, same time, same channel, where we will be discussing Richard Donner's Superman, I believe. So thank you so much. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are, and thank you for watching. Come back
yeah,
and enjoy our discussion if you can.
thank you all.
bye
Say good
bye.
night, everyone.
Bye bye. And don't rob any graves, or you might end up like Mr. Sardonicus.
Right.